We are ready.
All right, thank you, Brendan. All right, good evening. Happy New Year to everybody. I hope everyone had a very nice holiday and healthy holiday season. Welcome everybody to the January 11th, 2023 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. My name is Kyle Thide and I'm the chair of CB6. This meeting is called to order at 7:04 p.m. And tonight we are joined by Secretary Steve O, District Manager Jesus Perez, and Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. As a reminder, New York State law now requires all community board members to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. If your camera is not on and your name not properly displayed, you cannot count towards quorum. To conduct an efficient meeting tonight, we will observe a few ground rules. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. First, please raise your hand through Zoom and wait for the chair to recognize you. Then you can unmute and make your comment. The chat function should not be used for CB6 business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by first raising your hand through Zoom. The chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information such as an email address or link that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. And to the members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and have not already registered by filling out the form on the CB6 website ahead of time, you can register to speak in the public session by using the Q&A feature of Zoom and posting your name, affiliation, and the specific topic you wish to speak about. Please complete this by 7:15 p.m. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. So board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom. All right, seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We'll now take attendance.
We will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, you can unmute yourselves and answer present when your name is called. Majed Abdul Samad.
Present.
Kyle Thide.
Present.
Neil Barclay.
Present.
Evie Barroso.
Present.
Martin Barrett. Claire Brennan.
Present.
Jim Collins. Thought I saw Jim.
Present.
There you are.
Steve,
Jonathan.
I'm sorry, Steve, you may want to call Marty again. I see him, but he may not have heard his name.
I said present.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sorry.
Duly noted, marking Martin Barrett as present. Jonathan Derrico.
Present.
Stuart Desser.
Present.
Michael Devereaux.
Present. Michael Dever present.
Michael Devereaux present. Beatrice Disman.
Present.
Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Adam Harkey.
Present.
Sadie Howard.
Present.
Paige Judge.
Present.
John Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kilani.
Present.
Abigail Kruzmark.
Present.
Sandra Leftoff. Jason Littman.
Present.
Anton Malner.
Present.
Sandra McKee.
Present.
Richard Mintz.
Present.
Rajesh Nayar.
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe. Reshma Patel,
Present.
Matt Roberts,
Present.
Lawrence Shire,
Present.
Ann Seligman,
Present.
Lou Sapersky,
Yo.
Seema Shaw,
Present.
Sandro Sherrod,
Present.
Aisha Siddiqui,
Present.
Letty Simon,
Present.
Hannah Singleman,
Present.
Susan Steinberg,
Present.
Mark Thompson,
Present.
Gabriel Turzo,
Present.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven, Matthew Weintraub,
Present.
Mara Wong,
Present.
Ronnie White.
Present.
We are at quorum.
All right, thank you very much, Stephen. We've now come to our elected and agency representative reports. I have asked all of our elected officials to send over their reports ahead of time so that we can compile them. You can find all of the reports that were submitted on the CV6 website, and the link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time to all board members and the general public, and for your convenience can be found in the chat now. I will call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so that they can take questions from CV6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move to the next elected official on our list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so. In this part of the meeting, we will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. So first up, we have Robin Forrest from the mayor's office. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am very new with the mayor's office. I'm Manhattan Borough Director for the mayor's office, the Community Affairs Department. And Community Board 6 is one of the community boards that I will be working with, and I'm happy to be here tonight.
This meeting is being recorded.
And look forward to getting to know you and hope to be able to help you with whatever issues you bring to us. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robin, and welcome to Community Board 6.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to working with you very closely.
Thank you, Kyle.
Do we have a question from the public or no? Okay, hand went down. Thank you very much. All right, we'll now move on to Pat Hill from Councilmember Powers' office.
Hey, Kyle, Pat's not here, but I'm filling in for him if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Ben.
Sorry, I'm Ben Jacobs, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Keith Powers, and I just checked. January 10th, 2018 was the first CV6 meeting I went to, so that's 5 years yesterday. Is my sound on?
Yep, we can hear.
Okay. So anyway, good to see everyone again virtually. Hope everyone is staying safe. I'll just run through a report real quick. I have my Stuyvesant Town Peter Cooper Village Tenants Association shirt on tonight. I want to congratulate one of your board members, Susan Steinberg, and the Stuytown TA on a huge victory for both CV6 and rent stabilized tenants throughout New York City, where they prevailed in a lawsuit that was started in March 2020 to make sure that every apartment in Stuytown stays rent stabilized. The property owner was had intended to move some of the units out of rent regulation, and the Stuytown TA organized, took them to court, and now the units are rent stabilized in perpetuity. So it's a real win there. Councilman Powers was really excited to work with the TA, and as the lawsuit was being developed, and we've been talking. I've spoken to tenants, throughout these 3 years who have been just anxious about how that was going to come down. So it's great to see. Another positive development in the CV6 area in our district is I know folks are probably familiar with the pedestrian bridge to Waterside Plaza. Now, hopefully, that will be getting a full ADA replacement through the Spark Kips Bay project. But we have spoken with DOT. Councilman Powers sent a letter to the Department of Transportation last fall, and they've agreed to do some interim handrails to try to boost the accessibility of that bridge, which I know we've fought for years now because it could be pretty slick in the winter. And the last that should be installed. That'll be at some point in the next few months. We'll be in touch when we have more details there. Last point here, just want to hit the City Council fiscal year 24 expense discretionary funding applications open. If any of you know any or are involved with or know any nonprofits that are interested in receiving funding from the council, that application's up on the council website. It's available till February 21st, and please reach out to our office if you have any questions about receiving funding from Councilmember Powers or the council in any way. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you so much, Ben. Are there any further questions for Councilmember Powers' office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Ben. And congratulations on your 5 years. We'll send you a cake. Next up, we are joined by Senator Gonzalez.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Can you see and hear me?
Yep, both. Happy New Year as well.
Happy New Year. It's so good to be here. Thank you for letting me hop on and speak. I just wanted to pop in and give you all some updates on our office. We had our swearing in 1 week ago today. So this is officially first week on the job done, but it's been a long one. So I just wanted to run through some general updates with you. Before I get into that, in the last week or in our first week, I also want to echo what Ben said from Councilmember Powers' office. Just want to extend a huge congratulations to Susan and Stuytown for their incredible win. I see Susan is on the call tonight. So can we just give her like a huge round of applause, and to everyone from the Stuytown Tenants Association who is on this call tonight, because as Ben mentioned, this is not only a win for Stuytown in ensuring that those 6,200 units are stabilized, but a win for really tenants everywhere. This is setting a really exciting precedent. And I can tell you that in all corners of the district, I've heard just such excitement actually to see tenants winning, especially against, places like Blackstone. So thank you. But moving to some other exciting updates in the last week, I did get my committee placements. I am now the chair of the Internet and Technology Committee. I will also be sitting on energy and telecommunications. I'm also looking at Stuytown because I know we've had fights against power plants. So it's exciting to be on the energy committee. I'm also on the disability committee, on ethics, and on consumer protection. So those all will be exciting, and looking to all of you. If you have ideas for legislation, come talk to our office. I'm also running through these because I want to be respectful of time, and I see that my time is running out. And then since we last met, this is not specific to the last week in Albany, but I have met with other electeds that overlap here in Manhattan, but also Congressman Nadler's office. And in that meeting, I'm sure you have also heard from Senator Hoylman and Assemblymember Epstein that we raised the issue of seaplanes and helicopters. So we will be working on seaplanes this coming session with him, but looking at state level legislation there. In addition, and on that note of state level legislation, I also officially proposed my first bill in Albany, which is the Personal Protection Modernization Act. And what it does is close a loophole that says that all law enforcement is required to have a warrant if they want to see our data that's coming from, for example, the MTA and Omni, or even library data, any data that's collected by state and city agencies. If law enforcement wants to see it, they are required to have a warrant. It's part of our Fourth Amendment. But under our current laws today, there was a huge loophole. So excited to have that, excited to have the committees. We're still working on finding an office space in Manhattan, but I think that is a sum of just what the first week and even a little previous is before. So does anyone have any questions, or I will actually defer to Kyle to see if we have some time to answer some questions today.
I see no hands up, but was wondering if you wanted to introduce Marissa to the.
Yes.
I see Marissa is on.
100%. So another exciting update is we are all staffed up, and our new community affairs director is on the call today. You may have seen her from Congresswoman Maloney's office, but if not, Marissa, are you on? Yes. You want to introduce
Hi,
yourself?
everyone.
So please reach out to Marissa, and if Marissa, you could drop your email in the chat. We definitely want to hear from all of you if you have any constituent services or casework that you'd like us to take a look at.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator. I see no further questions. So thank you so much for joining tonight. And again, Happy New Year.
Great. Happy New Year. Bye, y'all.
We'll now move on to Assemblymember Boris.
Hello, everyone. Very nice to be with you. I share many of the Albany-based updates of Senator Gonzalez. In fact, we're at an event today. I'm very happy to be working together. But for those who I haven't met yet, I'm newly elected Assembly Member Alex Boris. As mentioned in my update, I took over Dan Court's physical office for at least session. And so we'll be here at 40th and Lexington, 353 Lexington to be precise. Welcome everyone to come in, stop in with any requests that you have, or just to say hi. And phone numbers have remained the same for any access there. Yesterday was the governor's State of the State address. She proposed a number of policies around mental health, which were exciting, although we'll see some of the details there. It's clear that housing will be a big focus of this term, and we're excited to dig into many of the policies that were proposed there. And we'll be putting forward some more of our own bills in the next month, which I'm very excited to share with each of you. The last bit I'd say is that our lines are being redrawn. I appreciate the work that those on this board have already done to highlight how ridiculous it would be to take part of this board's area and Manhattan and move it into Queens for the purpose of assembly lines. Thank you for passing your resolution in the committee. Hope the full board takes it up as well. And I hope to see all of you that have an opinion testifying on behalf of all of the residents to make sure we have good representation in the assembly, which will be on February 7th at Hunter College. And you can register at NYIRC, New York Independent Redistricting Commission.gov. And with that, I'd love to take any questions that people have.
Thank you, Assemblymember. And yeah, we do have a resolution on that tonight. So we will have that in preparation for the February 7th hearing. And fun fact, the Assemblymember and I used to play youth chess against each other. So glad that we're on the same team now, tackling community issues.
And there's a chess set in my office. So if you want to come in and just play, that's also welcome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there any further questions for the Assemblymember from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, thank you so much and Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. We'll now move on to John Blasco, old friend, but new office. John, how are you?
Happy New Year. Good to see many of you. You probably remember me from Assemblymember Harvey Epstein's office. Started the new year as Deputy Chief of Staff and District Director for new Congressmember Dan Goldman. And surprise, surprise, we represent a very, very tiny bit of Community Board 6. We actually represent half of Stuyvesant Square Park. So we are very lucky to share that with the amazing Congressmember Jerry Nadler, and looking forward to seeing all of you. Week 2. I'm sorry I was late. I sent the board report today. So just like our swearing in was late, our board report was late also. But it's out there. And you know, for future reference, you can come to me for any 3, 4 block community board 6 issues or matters. Happy New Year, everyone. Congratulations to the Stuyvesant town, to Susan, to Anne. Good to see you all.
Thank you, John. We'll say that the report was late because of Kevin. So, all right. Are there any further questions for Representative Goldman's office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, glad to have you back in a new capacity, John. All right, we'll now move on to Harry from Councilmember Menin's office.
Hi all, thank you for having me. I hope everyone's week is going well. Just a few quick updates going over the report that we sent out. One, we are really excited about the actions that we've been taking recently on smoke shops and marijuana stores throughout our district. We know many people are very concerned about this. Julie was actually very proud to stand with the mayor recently to announce the findings of an investigation on an interagency task force looking into, sometimes even unlicensed activity at these tobacco shops and smoke shops and marijuana shops that sometimes actually have led now to these shops being closed down. So we're very excited about that. I know I've mentioned this before, but our rat mitigation efforts are really taking off. We have now killed, we believe, over hundreds of rats, maybe even 1,000. It's hard to tell because many are actually killed in the rat burrows themselves and don't make it out. So we don't know the exact number, but it seems exciting. And we want you all to know if that you see any rat burrows and tree pits in your area to please let us know. And we will send the extermination team out to check that out. Sorry for my articulation today. I have COVID, so I'm doing the best I can here. And for PB, we have the last week of our idea submission map being available. So please get all of your idea submissions in now for District 5. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Harry. Speedy recovery. We're wishing a speedy recovery from COVID. And our Youth and Education Committee, Health and Human Services, and Business Affairs. So that's led by John Keller, Elvie Rosso, and Claire Brennan are taking the lead on the cannabis enforcement. So they'll be in close touch with you in your office on that as well. It'd be great to have the council member support on that as well. So we'll definitely be in touch with that. I do see a question. Anne, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, this is about the rats. And I think it would be great if the metric was not how many you had killed, but how much you had reduced the habitat in which they live. We had a big rat problem in my building, and it was because they weren't removing the garbage construction waste fast enough. So I hope, I'm just saying, I'm not sure if it's a question, but I'll make it a question. Are you working on removal of the waste that provides habitat for rats as much as you are killing them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it is all interconnected. So it's very fair. First of all, we don't go for specific rats. We go for rat breeding holes where they live. And so it is made worse by waste, especially, for example, at now vacant outdoor dining sheds and shelters. So one of the things that we've been doing is working with the administration to not only tear down these shelters, but even ones that are just not being used for now, to have the exterminators check them out, because we know that rats succeed when they're near waste and food waste. The other thing is what we've been doing throughout District 5 for introducing new waste baskets that are rat proof, because keeping them from being able to access the trash, they only need a little bit to survive for a week on end, will make a huge difference. So we think it's all of those efforts that why we're starting to see some success now. Great question.
Thank you, Harry. We now have Stu. to go ahead.
Thanks. You have an intro, I believe, for increasing the penalty on truck idling beyond 3 minutes. And I wonder what kind of enforcement there is. Who enforces that law? I mean, the penalty increase won't mean that much if there's not much enforcement. So is there currently much enforcement? Who does it and how is it done?
Right, good question. So there is enforcement usually by the NYPD right now. One of the issues being that with Amazon in the Fresh Direct and these big companies, they could eat the $300 fines that are typical. So what this is going to do is target these big companies and make it a bit make these fines a bit more significant and the punishment a bit more significant so that it's not so easy for them to absorb the fines. The enforcement isn't so much the issue, it's the extent of the punishment.
So the Fresh Direct trucks are refrigerated. Are they held to the same rule even though they have to run a compressor?
Well, they're still not allowed to idle for days on end in the same spot. I'd be happy to answer that over email further, but off the top of my head, I believe that they are still held to the same.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no further questions. Thank you so much, Harry. And again, feel better.
Thank you.
All right, we'll now move on to Joanna from Assemblymember Harvey Epstein's office.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joanna. I'm now the Director of Constituent Services and Support for Assemblymember Harvey Epstein. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact me. I'll insert my information in the chat. In addition to this, just as an update, there is a ERAP. The deadline to apply for ERAP is January 20th. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna, and congrats on the new title change.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we'll now move on to Eric from District Attorney Bragg's office.
Thanks so much, Kyle. Appreciate it. Nice seeing everyone tonight. Hope everyone enjoyed the holidays and Happy New Year. This will be really quick on my end. Nothing new really to add to my report. Just wanted to highlight two key items in there. One of which being the RFP that we recently announced pursuant to a significant funding opportunity totaling $9 million for service providers throughout the borough that have peer navigator programs that are specifically tailored to address things like mental health and substance abuse. Not much more to add there. Specifically, that I wanted to highlight that we actually released the RFP, so a link to that is included in the report as well as the full press release. Other than that, we recently announced our 2022 year in review. We basically launched it like a newsletter, so that link is in the report too, but if anyone wants to learn about a lot of the work we've done to keep New Yorkers safe throughout the borough, feel free to check that out. Happy to answer any questions, and as always, I'll put my contact information into the chat, so feel free to reach out offline as well. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. Are there any further questions for the District Attorney's office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, thanks so much, Eric. And I will just remind all of the staffers who are on the call, if you can add your contact information into the chat, I would be much appreciated. All right, we now have Justin from State Senator Liz Krueger's office. Justin, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm Justin Flagg, new liaison to CV6 from Senator Krueger's office. I've been with Senator Krueger for about 8 years. I was previously a liaison to CV5, so I'm going east. I will put my email in the chat. You can certainly reach out. The only one thing I would add from our report, which is that just today we announced that next Thursday, the 19th, Senator Krueger, along with the chairs of the ENCON and Energy committees in the Senate, is holding a hearing on implementation of the Climate Action Council's final scoping plan. So that's the implementation of our big 2019 climate bill, legislative and budgetary implications of how to implement that. So you'll be able to watch that live on the Senate website, and it's in-person testimony is invitation only, but everyone is encouraged. If you want to submit written testimony, there's more information. You can find that on the Senate website as well.
Right. Thank you so much, Justin. Are there any further questions for Senator Krueger's office from the board or from the public? I see a hand from John Keller. John, go ahead.
Hey, Justin, how are you? I've been in contact with Sarah Hale Stern, the new Chief of Staff for Senator Krueger, about this. I was just wondering whether there are any updates. As you well know, Senator Krueger had a bill last session, S9452, that increased the authority of state and local agencies to take enforcement action against illegal cannabis sales. And that bill is now, there is now discussion between the Senate and the Assembly on a new bill in that regard. And I was just wondering about what the status of that was, rather than ask each of the Assembly members and senators who are here tonight.
Yeah, my understanding is that there has been a three-way agreement between the Senate and the Assembly and the governor on the details of that bill. So we're just waiting for the final language to be handed down. It'll be what's called a governor's program bill. So it'll come directly from the governor's office. Senator Krueger will carry it. I don't know what the plan is in terms of when that would then be moved once we have it. But that's the status now. So we're just waiting for the final language to come down, and then we'll introduce it.
Oh, that's good news, and I appreciate it. So that's what it means by being on the second floor, I guess.
Yes, the second floor is Albany speak for the governor's office.
Okay, thank you very much, and welcome to the board, and thanks.
Thank you.
To Sarah as she takes over Brad's role. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Do we have another hand? Nope, I see no further questions. So once again, welcome to your first CV6 meeting, Justin. We're looking forward to working with you.
Thanks, Guy.
Awesome. All right. We have Olivia from Representative Nadler's office. Olivia, welcome to your first CV6 meeting.
Thank you. We are very, very thrilled to be here. I can speak for everyone in Congressman Nadler's office. Feels like it's been a long time coming since August. So we're very happy to be here. And just going off of what John said from now Congressman Goldman's office, we are excited to work with Congressman Goldman together for this community. You know, just really basic. We are here to help in every way that Congresswoman Maloney did before. If you have casework, we are the person to come to, you know, obviously if it has to do with federal issues, and I will be sending a kind of how to get help with casework to the board staff so they can disseminate it to everyone. But we help with everything from immigration, passports, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans issues, small business, USPS, all of that stuff. But, you know, I'll leave it there. We're really, really looking forward to representing this community. I will put my information in the chat. So if you ever want to give me a call about anything in the community or need help getting in contact with someone in our casework team, I'm happy to help you. I will be kind of Congressman Nadler's person for everything below 59th Street. So community boards 4, 5, and 6. And I've been with him for more than a year doing parts of the West Side, but we are very happy to be here on the East Side now. So if anyone has any questions, happy to take them, but looking forward to working with you for years to come.
Thank you, Olivia. Are there any further questions for Representative Nadler's office from the board or from the public? All right, seeing none, again, welcome to the East Side, Olivia, and looking forward to working with you. All right. Last but not least, we have Marissa from the New York City Department of Sanitation. Welcome, Marissa.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Please excuse me for not showing my face. My computer is acting a little wonky and I'm afraid to show my face and then it won't work anymore. Just a really quick update from the Department of Sanitation regarding the set out time change. Don't know if you heard, but starting April 1st, collection set out time is going to be pushed back to 8 p.m. Currently, you have to put all your garbage, recycling, compost material out of 4 p.m. So we're going to push it to 8 p.m. If your material is in a container or any sort of receptacle, it can go out at 6 p.m. Any building that's 9 or more units can enroll in a program which would allow them to set out their garbage between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. on their day of collection. So if you know any buildings in the district, we're starting to do our outreach plans. If you know anybody, I'm going to put my email and whatnot in the chat. Please let me know if you have any leads. We would love to have it, just so we know which buildings we should be reaching out to. For the commercial side, it's the same as well. It's being pushed back to 8 p.m. They can put it out an hour before business closes if it's inside a container. I'm happy to answer any questions, but thank you so much for giving me the time and space to speak today. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. We have a question for you. Eric, go ahead. You have the floor.
Sure. Just a quick question. What's the idea behind having certain buildings put their trash out? It seems like early in the morning between, I think you mentioned 4 and 7.
Yeah, so one of the reasons is because of the superintendents and the porters who work there at the building. A lot of them, I believe I might be wrong, they leave prior to 8 p.m. The 4 p.m. it would be pretty ideal for them. So they would rather, from what we've understood after speaking to a lot of organizations and to a couple of unions as well, doing 4 to 7 would actually be better for them. They don't mind coming in earlier. Some folks, they start on such an earlier side, and because there's such a large volume coming from buildings with 9 or more units, which is basically most of Manhattan, it's an even shorter window for the garbage to be on the street, because we know it's with way more garbage in the bags, that's where the rats are going to go. That's where individuals are going to rip open bags, in the middle of the night. So between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. still pretty early, but it's a way smaller window.
And just quickly, what time does trash collection begin?
Well, we technically operate 24/7. So the first shift is midnight to 8 a.m. Then there's 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., which is pretty much the heaviest shift where we have the most staff outside of snow operations. And then there's 4 p.m. to midnight.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right, I'm seeing no further questions for you, Marissa. So thank you so much, and looking forward to working with you as well.
Thank you so much, Kyle.
Thank you. Oh, Anne, I think Anne has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. DSNY is so underappreciated and does so much for us all here. And one of the things that I think is was really remarkable in increasing my appreciation of that was going on a tour of the new garage, the sanitation garage, down like in Soho.
On Spring Street.
On Spring Street, exactly. Yeah.
I love that garage.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like it was such an interesting experience. And I'm wondering if doing a little bit more outreach along those lines might not just kind of up other people's appreciation of what you do. I know you already have a lot on your plate, literally, but yeah, just a thought that I'd throw out there.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much. It definitely is a little dangerous to have people come to the garages. We definitely want to make it safe and as controlled as possible because of all the equipment, machinery, and any slicks, any kind of slime that could be on the ground as well. But that is a great idea. We have so many facilities and of varying degrees. So that's something I'll definitely think about, at least for Manhattan. I can't speak to my other boroughs, but as a Manhattan liaison, I can try that.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for coming, Marissa.
Thank you so much.
We have another question from Jim.
Oh,
you mentioned that you had spoken to some groups with respect to the timing of these pickups, particularly for the larger buildings. Have you talked to any of the management companies, the companies that schedule the staff and pay the bills and overtime and what have you? My building, I believe our staff comes in at 7 a.m. and they're gone by 8 o'clock. So I'm wondering how many managing agents you've spoken to.
I do not personally know how many.
This decision.
Sorry to cut you off. I don't know personally how many we've spoken to. That was senior staff and some of our chiefs who did a lot of that outreach to the management companies and to unions and things like that. But that's why it's really more of an option. So if folks do, like in your building, if they work 7 to 8, then putting it out for 8 p.m. works because that would be probably the last thing they would do that night. is put out the garbage. So 4 to 7, they won't have to sign up for that end of the program. It's really just an option because we heard that feedback from some of the buildings. I don't, obviously not all, but some of them would prefer to just come in earlier so they can leave when they normally do. But I'll
And
check in
also,
and
does
see who
this
else.
apply to the recycling? I understood that that was going to be that was excluded from this. The recycling pickups?
I have not
Plastics
heard
and
that
what
it
have
would
you.
be excluded from recycling. From everything that's been told to me, that it's all waste streams. But I can double check on that, of course. That's a good point.
One last question. Is there anything going on with respect to the DSNY garage at 25th Street and First Avenue, the proposed DSNY garage? Is there any
I
progress?
currently
on
don't
that?
have an update on that. Let me check in on that. I've heard a lot about the M11 garage. I haven't heard too much about that one. I haven't been given any new updates, so I'll have to check on that.
All right, very well.
But I will-
Will we see you here again next month?
If I'm
maybe?
invited, of course.
Okay.
Yes, but I will.
You're always invited, Marissa.
Thank you. But I will, Phil, I will put my email in the chat, so please feel free to come at me with all your questions and hound me, because that's your job and my job.
Exactly.
Very well. Thanks much.
We have
Thank
a
you.
final question from Aisha. Aisha, go ahead.
Hi, I might have missed this, but is this just for residential units, like to put the trash out after 8, or what do businesses do?
The same rules would apply for businesses, so they have to put it out by 8 p.m. If it's in a receptacle, they can do it at 6 p.m. Or no, sorry, if it's in a receptacle, they can wait until an hour before they close.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much, Marissa. I see no further questions, but I'm sure your email is going to blow up with a lot
I'm
of
looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so we've now reached the end of our electeds section. Jesus, Brendan, has anyone signed up to speak in the public session tonight?
No one has signed up to speak in the public session tonight.
Okay, so we'll move on. The minutes from the December 14th full board meeting have not been sent to the board office yet. Once they are ready for review, they will be distributed to CB6 members for adoption. I'll now deliver my chair's report. So just a couple of things. So first, obviously, welcome back to everybody. I hope everyone had a happy and healthy holiday season. With that, the emergency orders to remain virtual were extended to the end of January. As many of you might know, there has been a COVID spike, so we will remain conscious of all of your health and of that of your family as well. So we'll continue with that, and we'll continue to post updates as we hear about it from the city. You might have seen the holiday party that was scheduled for January 13th has been postponed due to this COVID spike. The new date is Friday, January 27th. But again, we will make sure that we are aware of COVID trends at that time and give further details about that at that time. But hopefully we get to a point where we can meet up and socialize with each other and talk about things that are not related to community board issues, although I'm sure it always will go back to community board issues. A cool update. So as many of you might know, my tenure as chair has been marked by a commitment to returning open and green spaces back to the district. So in addition to the returning of the part of St. Martin Park that we achieved in 2021, we have now received backing by the borough president and council member powers to return the triangular MTA area by the Queens Midtown Tunnel on First Avenue back to the public as well. So that is a big step in the fight to reclaim that space. And this issue will continue in the Environment and Parks Committee. So we will turn it over to them. With that, I want to recognize new leadership on this board. Neil Barclay has now been appointed the chair of Environment and Parks. Nad Kalani has been appointed the vice chair of Budget and Governmental Affairs. John Derico has been appointed the vice chair of Youth and Education. As many of you might know, Majed Abdul Samad has been the vice chair of Land Use for a couple of months now, but I want to recognize him as well. And Gabe Turzo has been appointed the vice chair of Transportation. So please congratulate all of these new members who have come in with such a force into board work and provide support and mentorship and advice to them as they lead their committees and lead impact in this community. So we're very excited for that. And then on some somber updates, many of you might have seen this in the newsletter that was sent out the other day, but I want to recognize the passing of two former chairs of this board, Michael Yaman, who served in the late 80s, as well as Carol Schachter, who served from 2004 to 2006 as the full board chair, and of course was part of the board for much longer. Carol, in particular, was a close friend of many on this board. We will remember her humor and her engagement as being very palpable and widespread. She always had a smile on her face. She was always supportive, especially of newer members, and was known for bringing candy to committee meetings. So she really was such a bright spark on this community board. We will miss her dearly, and we do send her family our condolences and love. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jesus. Oh, sorry, do I see a question from Rich?
Yes, I saw today that the federal government extended its COVID emergency for 90 days. Does that mean that the governor is likely to follow?
We'll see. The governor's emergency orders have been going month to month, but the mayor's has also been going month to month as well. So it all seems to be in line with that as well.
All right, thank you.
No problem. And now Jesus, district manager's report.
Thank you, Kyle. I'll be super quick. Just a few housekeeping items. As you all saw and have probably heard from the Borough President's Office, with community board applications out. Now is the appointment season. So we've already started hearing from some members. If you are unsure whether it is your turn to apply this year, just reach out to the office or to the Borough President's Office, and we can certainly let you know, since we have that in our roster. Additionally, with all, if you have, I wanted to take a moment to remind folks of our handy dandy resolution tracker that is on our website. It's been coming up a little bit lately because some committees have been doing resolutions that harken back to resolutions that were passed a long time ago. Our resolution tracker only goes back about 4 or 5 years, but whenever we have an opportunity to go into the archives and dig up old resolutions, we will put them on the Reso tracker so that for future uses, they will be there. So just as a reminder, if you just go to our website, which you see here, you should be able to see our website here. You click on resolutions, a little pop-up will come up, and then there it will be. So we've been getting more and more interest in this, so we want to keep beating that drum and letting folks know that that resource is available for you there. And also for when there are resolutions for full board, we will put them as soon as they're ready. We will put them up on the resolution tracker in draft form. It will be plastered with watermarks so that you know it's a draft, so that you don't have to wait for the day of or the day before to get the packet of resolutions. As soon as the committees give them to us, we will put them up on the Reso tracker so that you have even more time to thoughtfully read and consider them. But unless there are any questions, that does it for me. And I yield the floor back to Kyle.
All right, seeing no questions, Jesus, we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Kyle. The OMB's budget summary report for our board from January 5th, 2023 shows that our personal service budget for the year is $237,033, and we have a balance of $105,335.71, with $105,697.29 spent or obligated. The current budget for other than personal services excludes rent is $154,435. This figure contains $123,961,000 of the retained street fair funds. Our remaining other than personal service budget is $30,474. We have a remaining balance of $19,457,067.68 with $11,016.32. and 32 cents spent or obligated. Finally, we have a rent budget of $164,000, which was paid in full in November, satisfying our rent obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much, Adam.
Thanks.
All right. We will now move on to committee business. So we've now arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. Or actually, sorry, before I move on, Brian, is the borough president with us now, or are we still expecting him later?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kyle. We're still expecting the borough president a bit later this evening.
Okay, no problem. So we'll move ahead with the business. All right, so we've now arrived at committee reports and resolutions. Just a reminder that the same rules that we stated at the beginning of the meeting still apply. So members of the public, please note that during this particular session of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. So the CB6 staff will post a link to the digital ballot in the chat right now. Please click on the link to open this ballot or copy and paste it into your browser. Select your name from the drop-down list and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. Do not hit submit until later in the meeting after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit after you have indicated all your votes on your ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. And if you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. And if any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand through Zoom and we will address your question. Or please reach out to the board office staff to help you with any technological issues. All right, so first committee up is Housing and Homelessness. Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, not much to say because we did not meet or are not meeting this month because of a conflict, but we will be meeting in February, hopefully early, because there is a lot going on, including the governor's plan for the building and housing, developments in the migrant homeless situation, and lots of other things. So expect a longer report from us at the next meeting.
All right, thank you very much, Rich. Are there any further questions for the Housing and Homelessness Committee from the board? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Land Use and Waterfront. Sandy, go ahead.
Good evening. We have one resolution, and this is regarding the vacant property. It's east of First Avenue between 38th Street and 41st Street, and it's known as the Solo site. And this came up because the developer of the site is considering, has asked to be considered to put a casino on the site. So several things came up. One, we'd like the vacant land to be developed. It's been fallow for a long time, and we're really hoping that something will be put in place there. And also, whatever is put in place, that we have a vigorous and strong voice in its development. And thank you so much to Sandro and Jim, who wrote this in a very short turnaround. Are there any questions?
Eric, go ahead.
Hi, just a quick question, not actually about the Solo site, but just basically came up earlier, the Spark development. When is the Land Use and Waterfront Committee going to begin discussions of Spark?
I'm sorry, which?
Oh, for the Brookdale site, the Spark New York State development on, yeah.
Sorry, I'm not used to hearing it that acronym. We have absolutely no information on that at this point. Zero. We've during, but so once we do receive something, we will absolutely be deeply involved.
Yeah, Eric, we're working, just to give you some background on that. So we're working with our local electeds on that because all the information that we have was from the opening ceremony ribbon cutting that they had. And they did promise that, the next year would go towards planning. So we will get that on the agenda and definitely come to executive committee meeting to discuss that further. But we need to get more information at hand to better structure the conversation. But yeah,
thank you.
Yeah. Susan, go ahead.
Thank you. Before I ask my question, I just want to mention there was a question about whether the what about the sanitation garage on 25th Street? That's dead. It's being taken over by the Science Park and Research Center, Spark. Okay, my question is, does CB6, does its 197A plan have any application to the Solo site? I mean, was there anything planned?
It does not directly address the Solo site, and the Solo site was part of a ULURP, so there are fairly restrictive considerations for what can be built there. The 197A does ask for access to the waterfront, additional housing. It's a more general review of the situation.
Weren't there plans for a school at some point with this on the Solo site?
I believe the school is what was built south of
the river school.
The
That's
river
the
school,
south side.
yes.
Yeah, the south
That's
side.
the south. So there are actually 3 parcels of land that were part of the Solo development. The west side of First, the south side, and now the only part that has not been built is the east side between 38th and 41st.
Thank you, Sandra.
Adam, go ahead.
I was going to call a question.
All right, there's a call to question.
Second.
All right, seconded by Lou. So everybody, please go back to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 2A.
And while people are voting, we are losing 3 of our long-term members, Ann Seligman, Lou Sapersky, and Molly Hollister. I want to thank them for their dedication, enthusiasm, and devotion to the committee's work. We will miss them, but they are being replaced by 6 new members. So welcome to them. Next meeting, we will be discussing the City of Yes, access to the waterfront, to the actual water on our waterfront, and the Second Avenue Water Main Project. And our meeting is actually at the end of January. We will have 2 meetings this January.
All right, thank you, Sandy. And please make sure that you have not hit submit yet. There's still another resolution. All right, seeing no further questions, we'll move on to the next committee. Bylaws. B, do you have a report for us?
Thank you, Carl. Yes, we met yesterday as a committee and went over all of the issues that we had parked during our initial discussion and came to agreement. We also had a number of members of CB6 attending the meeting and had come up with additional suggestions, some of which we've incorporated. The plan is for our February meeting is to go over the whole document as a document that we want to present to the board in March. So that is our goal on bylaws. And I have to thank all the members of CB6 for offering their suggestions based on some of the experience that they've seen. It helps when people use examples of things that have taken place. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, B. Are there any further questions for the bylaws committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to youth and education. Go ahead, John.
Yes, I'll be brief. We did not meet either in December. We heard earlier from Senator Kruger's office about the status of the important legislation in Albany, which is actually with the governor under her control, related to the authority of state and local agencies enforcing actions against illegal cannabis. I'd like to just briefly announce that or mention, as I'm sure many of you are aware, next Wednesday, January 18th, the New York City Council's 3 committees of the New York City Council will be hosting a meeting on the proliferation of unlicensed smoke shops in New York City at 10 a.m. It'll be led by Councilmember Schulman on the Committee on Health, Gail Brewer on the Committee on Oversights and Investigations, and Councilmember Velasquez on Consumer and Worker Protection. All of you who have interest in this important issue are urged to submit testimony, which I will be doing on my own behalf, or attend this important joint meeting of the City Council 3 committees. And finally, we are in contact with Gail Brewer's Council Member Gail Brewer's office on her intro 81/2022 regarding improved reporting of food and nutrition education in New York City schools, and also reaching out again to CUNY related to their interest to speaking to our committee in this regard. And finally, I would like to enthusiastically welcome and endorse John DeRico as the new Vice Chair of Youth and Education, and only with the regret that we will lose Neil Barkley to Environment and Parks. His role in Environment and Parks as the Vice Chair. Neil has done a terrific job with the committee, and I am deeply appreciative of all of his work. And with that, I will yield the floor back to Kyle.
All right, thank you very much, John. Appreciate that. Are there any further questions for the Youth and Education Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move to Budget and Governmental Affairs. Reshma?
Thank you, Kyle. So as mentioned before, we have a resolution opposing the New York State Assembly district boundaries that were redrawn. There was a new map that was released on December 1st. And just for some background, there had been this very extensive process that happened with the Independent Redistricting Commission last year. And then it went to a court, and then the court, very close to when the primary was supposed to happen, had said that these lines would need to be redrawn. And so this is kind of round 2 of this. And we are opposing it because they have taken parts of Manhattan and put them into an assembly district in Queens. And there are people in the community who feel that the needs would be overlooked. As a result, primarily, these are portions of Assembly District 73 and a small portion of Assembly District 74, which are in Manhattan right now, which get combined with Assembly District 36. I'm happy to take any questions. That's just a brief overview.
All right, thank you, Reshma. I guess it's here we go again, like the umpteenth time.
Yeah, it seems like an endless process for, with redistricting.
Okay.
But I think we're near the end.
Yeah.
And
fingers crossed.
yeah.
All right. Are there any questions for Reshma on this resolution? All right, seeing none, I'll move this to a vote. So please go to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 5A. And while people are doing that,
I'm not getting the ballot.
I think Brendan just reshared it.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, Jesus and Brendan, can you work with Lou on his ballot? Once you have indicated your vote for this resolution, you can hit submit. And while people do that, Reshma, do you have an additional report or anything to add?
Yeah, I'd like to just mention that on February 7th, there will be a hearing for the new state assembly lines happening at Hunter College. It would be great if you are in this new state assembly district and impacted by these changes, if you can testify. And if you're not able to testify in person, I think they'll have Zoom and in-person options, but you can also write a letter, which we did back in August for the city council hearing. And we had a positive result. So we can have people do that, and that information will be shared with you by the CV6 office on how you can register and how you can send a letter. And I also would just like to thank Letty Simon, as well as Chris Collins, who brought this issue up and really pushed forward this item. And I want to welcome Nad Kilani as Vice Chair of the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee. And I'd like to say goodbye to Brian Van Nieuwenhoven, who is leaving us to go on land use, and who had been a former chair of this committee and who has been very helpful to me in figuring out what we have to do. When I became chair, which, last year, and it was an unfortunate circumstance because of the passing of Rick Eggers.
All right.
And that's it.
Thank you very much, Reshma. And speaking of Brian, we'll move to the Transportation Committee. Brian, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'm waiving my report.
All right, thank you very much, Brian. We'll now move on to business affairs and licensing. Claire, go ahead.
Hello, I'll be quick. Happy New Year. We didn't meet last meeting, but we have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in the pipeline. We are working with John and Elvie on cannabis enforcement, so stay tuned on that. And then we're also going to be bringing the nail salon workers who we talked to at the end of last year, the group who's organizing them and pushing some legislation. That will be in February. That's about it. Please join us on the 26th.
All right, thank you very much, Claire. We'll now move on to health and human services. Elvie, go ahead. Elvie, are you there still? I think we're having audio issues, Elvie.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So Happy New Year, everyone. Hopefully this is a better year for everyone. And a recap of our previous meeting in December of last year. We discussed the plan on having a CB6 health fair in the summer. The tentative date is on Saturday, June 10, 2023, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Our goal is to support the health and wellness of residents of Community Board 6 by increasing knowledge about the health services and resources available in the community. We have identified a venue. We will finalize after we do our site visit next week. But if you have any other suggestions for a venue, please let me know. In our upcoming meeting tomorrow, we are going to have a naloxone training on how to respond to an opioid overdose. And this will be conducted by the health department. Everyone is welcome to join us in the training, so please come to our meeting tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. We will also have a discussion about the status of unlicensed smoke shop that have sprouted within our district. So John and Claire are hoping to come to our meeting tomorrow. And that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Elvie. Seeing no further questions, we'll move on to public safety. Matt?
All right, so we haven't met for a couple of months, but we will be meeting next week. We'll be discussing again discussing the shelter security at the New Providence Women's Shelter after the homicide that took place last month. You may recall we had that on the agenda and we spoke about it last spring. There were some concerns raised there, so we'll be bringing that back up after the incident last month. And then we'll also cover the concerns about fire safety from the mobility devices that were raised last month. So lots to cover, and I think we're also adding a discussion about the drag story hour protests that have been taking place at their public libraries just outside the district. So some residents are concerned about that. So lots to cover. You guys can join us tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. All right, seeing no further questions, we've now arrived at old or new business. So board members, if you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand through Zoom. All right, seeing no old or new business, we'll now move to the second roll call.
Folks, before we do that, we have a handful of members who have not submitted their ballots, so please do that ASAP. Sorry about that, Steve. Proceed if you'd like.
Of course. Members, I will now call on you for the second roll call. If you have not submitted your ballot, please do so now. If you're unable to use a digital ballot, I will ask you for your vote on each of tonight's resolutions. Okay, starting in the reverse order, Ronnie White.
Present. Happy New Year, everyone.
Mara Wong,
Present.
Matthew Weintraub,
Present.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven,
Present.
Gabriel Turzo,
Present.
Mark Thompson,
Present.
Susan Steinberg,
Present.
Hannah Singelman,
Present.
Letty Simon,
Present.
Aisha Siddiqui,
Present.
Sandra Sherrod,
Present.
Seema Shah,
Present.
Lou Sapersky.
Yo, did you get my ballot response?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anne Seligman,
Present.
Lauren Shire,
Present.
Matt Roberts,
Present.
Reshma Patel,
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe, Rajesh Nayar,
Present.
Richard Mintz,
Present.
Sandra McKee,
Present.
Anton Molnar,
Present.
Jason Littman,
Present.
Sandra Leptoff, Abigail Kuzmark,
Present.
Nadine Kalani,
Present.
John Keller,
Present.
Paige Judge, Sadie Howard,
Present.
Adam Harkey,
Present.
Eric Goldberg,
Present.
Jason Fromowitz,
Present.
Beatrice Disman,
Present.
Michael Devereaux,
Present.
Stu Desser,
Here.
Jonathan Derico,
Here.
Jim Collins,
Present.
Claire Brennan,
Present.
Elvie Barroso,
Present.
Martin Barrett,
Present. Martin Barrett.
Barrett,
Okay.
never fail, Neil Barclay,
Present.
Kyle Tide,
Present.
Ajed Abdul Samad.
Present.
Okay.
Steve,
the-
Steve, you may want to call Paige Judge's name again. I think she was having some audio issues, but I do see her around.
Okay. Paige Judge. I don't have my video up. Is she there?
She seems to be approaching the camera.
Paige Judge.
You hear me?
Yes, I hear. I do hear you.
There's something wrong. I had used the chat. No one answered me.
I will mark you as present. Okay. Moving to the resolutions. Land use waterfront. Resolution 2A. In favor, 41 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstained, 0 entitled, not entitled. Resolution passes. Budget and government affairs, resolution 5A. 40 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstained, 0 not entitled. The resolution passes.
All right, thank you very much. It's great to start off the new year with a nice, efficient meeting. If there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. And seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 18 p.m.